Let me ask you a question. Who's old enough to really watch porn, right? You know, because it might have like a parental advisory sticker, or say if you under the age of 18 or under the age of 21, this and that doesn't so, right? But I do think that if you are 18, they allow you to actually participate in porn. But look, why would it say that certain people of a certain age can't watch porn, but people of a certain age can watch porn, right? I guess they would be saying that there's a certain maturity level once you hit a certain age, right? You might be able to deal with things better once you hit a certain age. And look, literally speaking, that is true, you know. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, you know, teenagers and under, yeah. You know what? They have less life experience. Their mental capacity is, I would think in most cases, isn't the same of one who's like 25 and older. They're more mature. They can, you know, they can deal with things better once you get older. I agree with that, right? But in this instance, adult content or porn, right? At what age is it really? Because I'm not talking about legally or whether you have a right to watch it because you're grown, okay? This is not a matter of if somebody's over 21 and they have the liberty to do what they want. When is it, I mean, is it actually really okay to really watch that at all, right? Stuff that you wouldn't want to participate in, stuff that you wouldn't want your child to participate in. If they say they wanted to, you would probably try to sway them or talk them out of it, tell them why they shouldn't do it, right? This is stuff that you would agree is not good to do, or not, you know, it's stuff that you would agree is not good to do. So even if you're 70, why, you know, is it really a good thing? Is it really okay to watch people do this act? Knowing that most people can't do this act, like can't bring themselves to do it, and you may have to had come up a certain way or had certain things happen to you or get to a certain point in your life or in your mind that you can even get to the point where now this is the type of act that you would do. You know all this about the act, right? You know that if you watch my videos, this Virgin at 41 channel or my other channel, See the Invisible Stuff, you hear me talk about sex and relationships a lot, right? You hear me talk about how, depending on how you're going to use sex, depending on how you're going to use romance, it can be a great thing and you can impact the world in a great, powerful, wonderful way. Or if you're going to misuse sex and romance, you can impact the world in a negative, destructive, horrible way. And it's very true. That's not an overstatement, right? If you don't believe it, go watch some of the videos that particularly a video I got called Dating Wars, where I talk about that, right? But knowing all this about adult content or porn, is it really okay for anybody to watch it, right? Whether you're 16 or whether you're 67, you know, knowing all that about the porn, all the things that I named, right? Knowing how it can keep you consumed with sex, right? It can taint your perception of how sex is supposed to be. It can make you go out and want to sexually explore, which ain't a good thing. Talk about it in other videos. It can make you what I like to call, and maybe it's a video I might make, it can make you a sexual terrorist, right? Sex, like you hear me say it a lot, it has a purpose. You need to be intentional and purposeful with your sex drive. Clearly pornography is not intentional, you're not being purposeful with your sex drive, right? You had got to a point where you're now able to get on camera and do this sexually, right? But that's not really the way sex is supposed to be used. And consuming that and enjoying that, it can affect you sexually, how you view sex, how you move around sexually, what you would give the okay to sexually. If you would say, oh well, if you're over 21, then it's okay to watch this, you already probably been affected mentally as far as how your view of sex is. Because all those things that I named about in relation to this pornography, you want to talk people out of you love from doing it, you probably couldn't bring yourself to do it, knowing that you probably had to go through certain things in life, had certain experiences, or just came up a certain way in order to even get to this point. You know all this about it. If you would still co-sign it, then you probably already been corrupted sexually by the society that we live in. And you know, that's how you can give the okay to pornography in the first place, right? So is it really ever okay, no matter what age you are, for anybody to watch it? I'm not talking about if you already got, because sometimes some people might already have a sexual struggle, have a struggle with pornography. It can affect their ability to digest this message that I'm saying, because they're being addicted to it, or they're feeling like it's something that they wouldn't want to let go of. Want to allow them to just say, you know what, that is real talk. Even if I struggle with it, even if I have an addiction or whatever like that, that is still real talk. You still gotta let real talk be real talk. So I pose that question: at what age is it really actually okay to watch and enjoy porn? That's what I'm saying. I say no age. I don't think it's healthy at all for anybody. The people doing it, other people watching it. What you think about that? And don't let society normalizing it, even if you watch it, even if you having a struggle with it, even if you feel like it's attached to some type of women's rights, because people throw sexuality and women's rights in there, and try to make that, and I call that pimping people's pain. That's a whole nother video I might make on my other channel. But what are your thoughts about this? Porn is like, everybody know of porn, everybody heard of porn, right? And everybody know that people are watching it, right? In porn, anything can happen on porn, right? Now this stuff that where anything can happen, right? A lot of people are watching it, right? Even if they're not obviously watching it, they might not be broadcasting it. They're not letting everybody know. They're not watching it with everybody. People are still watching anything go down sexually, right? And now this is what happened in society, right? Since people watching it behind the scenes, you got some people in their everyday life. They might not be willing to do porn, right? But some people in their everyday life, they may be an entertainer, or they might have a YouTube channel, or they may be a podcaster. They might not go as far as to do porn, but some of the wild, out of the ordinary stuff that happen on porn, they might overtly talk about it, or they may say from time to time that they engage in it. They think about, you got a lot of sexual acts now, today, that's being normalized, that years ago, would have, it's like no one would dare openly say that they do it, I think behind the scenes, because everybody watching porn, everybody watching the completely a straight perversion of sex where anything goes behind the scenes. And I think that some of that behind the scenes stuff manifesting is through people who don't mind sharing some of their thoughts about some wild, crazy stuff sexually, or even say that they do it, right? And people who are not bold enough to do that, still watching it, the porn, and still would agree with those podcasts and entertainers who promote the stuff, and maybe secretly indulge in it in themselves, and then that's how you get a whole nother a perversion of sex on a broad scale becoming normalized. But since I'm saying it in 2025 and it's becoming normal, now it look like you just, I'm telling you, it's perversion ever satisfied. It's probably going to, I think it's going to get worse and worse if, people don't like govern themselves sexually, right? Like I said, it's perversion ever satisfied. Now you got the kids, they have, they don't have, back in the day we didn't have phones. Now they have phones and all that, and they got this wild crazy stuff. They got access to it just straight up, just through that phone now, right? And they're kids, and they're even more impressionable than the adults who fall victim to it, right? So yeah, I mean, please don't just look at porn as just, oh well, to each its own. Well, you mean that's what it is legal? I mean, really, should anybody really be watching it? Is anybody really built to really watch that stuff and be able to handle it and not get corrupted by it, not get perverted by it? The fact that you will watch other people butt naked have sex is already a perversion within itself. It's just been normalized, so it sounds like I'm judging. I'm just saying. That's why I used to tell people, this is about like maybe a little over 10 years ago, I believe that dealing with kids in that type of way is going to be, I won't surprise me if that become normal, that become acceptable. And everybody would say, oh man, get out of here, until it's normal. I'm not judging. Perversion is taking place with the sex. I mean, I say that again, you are grown and have the right to do what you want. But this stuff is getting normalized, and it's that's just what it is. And like I say, the kids got access to this stuff now. Think about that.